What up, everybody? This is Tyson Lewis, and as you can see, we'll be doing a reaction today. And the reaction today is going to be a little bit different. Of course, video games is the number one thing on this channel. We'll be doing that. As you also seen me also do hip hop as well, because those things that are really close and dear to my life. Video games and hip hop will be the main focus on the channel. But there's also going to be times where we get stuff like this, which, as you can see, a new movie coming out by Steven Spielberg called Disclosure Day. Now, I'm gonna give a little background before we dive into the trailer. Ever since I was a little kid, I used to have really bad night terrors, or some people will call it sleep paralysis. I used to get that so much when I was a little kid. And I remember my very first one. And my very first one, if any of you guys seen the movie like Conjuring, um, kind of went that way. Obviously not that deep, but I'm saying in the normal thing when you get sleep paralysis, or for those who don't know what sleep paralysis is basically exactly what it kind of says. It's a moment where you're out of REM, or you're in REM but your eyes are open, and so you're up but your body is still asleep, so therefore you cannot move or do anything. And in that time, because you're in REM sleep, the synapses in your brain can create images that would normally, happen in a dream or normally happen in any other state. So in that moment of you being in awake REM, you'll see images. And for the longest, people would, tie that to different things. The be see ghosts, the be see shadow man, the be, some people use the abduction phenomenon for that same, understanding. Oh, okay, someone says they've been abducted or something. Okay, maybe you had a very strong sleep paralysis. But in my case, I used to get them very often and see all types of stuff. I used to live in Apple Valley, California, and I used to, because it's always sunny, always nice, and the place that I live with, the family that I live with, they had a really nice backyard with, like, grounded patch of grass, and I would just go out there and meditate. I used to meditate a whole lot, and I started to get really bad anxiety, so I kind of stopped in my meditation, but I used to meditate a lot. And one day we went to this place a little bit further out of Apple Valley, and there was this I'm gonna say it wrong, but there was a story of a guy who got a message from people that aren't from here, and they told him to build this thing, and it's called like the Tahedra Sphere or something like that. It kind of built like a ship, but then the people there would do like sound bowl, like healing. And I went one day with my one of my really good friends, and it's a kind of famous place. I actually do actually a whole thing on that. If you guys are interested, you let me know in the comments, and I can bring that up and show you where I went. And we did, sound bowl healing in this place, and apparently it's supposed to sit over um, underground running water and stuff, and it's supposed to do healing properties. So ever since I did that, I going to his house, which has always been a weird place to sleep at, just because this random stuff would happen. Like random. I'm not kidding y'all. Uh what they get in the comics, they'll tell you for sure, like, these random things would happen. And I think one, like, it used to happen before, used to like make me nervous, and it start happening so much that at the end of the day I would just be like, wake up, and I would see like four figures like standing in front of my face. And this is not to scare y'all or anything like that. I just no cap, not no cap at all on this. I'm being dead serious. And it got to a point where I'd just be like, ugh, y'all can leave me alone, and then it would just like dissipate. Um, so ever since that moment of being a little kid and having these things, from that moment on, when it came to alien movies, I just was obsessed. Like, with either like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I remember being a kid and I would just watch it over and over and over, and be fascinated, not so much by the ending of the movie, but fascinated that the character, Richard Dreyfuss, the character that he plays, um, he's so infatuated of, after an event of something that happened, he's super infatuated with like trying to figure it out. And anyone who hears about some Roswell or anything like that, or Bob Lazar, or just many things, I can go on for days, and this is like big part of my life. And when I used to watch those movies, I would more look into like the little subtleties of like, could that have been real versus, just looking at the movie in its, state of the way you're looking at a movie. I'm always like trying to pick it apart and something like this. And so that's what we get into Disclosure Day, which is kind of interesting because right now, like, you have people that are, congressional hearings of, trying to disclose just files of either be UAP sightings and pilots and everyone actually giving their testimony and without being ridiculed and stuff. So it's cool to see. But I'm always gets curious when Spielberg does his UFO movies or his alien movies and stuff like that, because in my opinion I think there's like hints into um what could possibly be real. I know it might sound crazy to y'all or a lot of people who don't even know me. I don't talk about this part so much. But yeah, it's a part of my life. It's something that always excites me. I think the fourth kind was like the one that I wouldn't say scared me, but more like, okay, this is on a different level. If y'all ever seen the fourth kind, it's basically a lady, basically about a woman who, we don't know if it's real or not real. They say it is, but it's kind of filmed that way. Who does, she does hypnotism and she does it, the regression. So basically, just, you know, putting you back in the moment of whatever happened at that time. And then the people will talk about them being taken or something like that. And you get your typical how it happened, whatever. But the cool thing, not say cool, but the thing that I enjoyed about the movie is they added like, old, like, instead of the aliens just being aliens, they added like Sumerian to it. They added like old languages and different like things that are linked to like actual real events or people who said, this is what happened. So it kind of gave the movie a bit of a more like real feel to it. Usually Spielberg's is a bit more like after the fact. People come in, or you might have, for like Close Encounters, when it came to the was it President Reagan? Yeah, yeah, Reagan, or is it Nixon? I get them too confused on the time of one of the two. On on if no, it was Reagan. Um, on after they watched Close Encounters, basically he came out and said like that's not too far off of the actual event that happened. I mean, that's a rumor that's been said about what he said about the movie. So normally when Spielberg makes these type of movies, there's some little extras into it. Not to lie to you guys, like I said, this is just something I've been down with for a minute. Just alien movies, alien stuff in general. I've seen pretty much almost every alien type of movie, thriller you can imagine. And then obviously the rabbit hole of YouTubes that I've been down for years. So I've already seen the trailer, but just to give context to the story I told, and then there's some things that I would like to point out in the trailer that are actually kind of like close to real life, events or real life people or things. But yeah, we're just gonna get to this trailer real quick, not to hold y'all too long. Bear a minute, and let's have a conversation at the bottom. If y'all into it, I could talk about this a whole lot. But yeah, if y'all into it, let me know in the comments. Spam up the likes, all the other stuff, so that it lets me know that you guys want more type of content like this, other than the video games and other than the hip hop stuff. This is just a little bit different, but it means something to me.
If you found out we weren't alone, if someone showed you, proved it to you, would that frighten you?
Good morning, Kansas City. Let's take a look at today. Let's. Today is. Today's.
This cast is
People have a
star-studded,
right to
by the
know the
way, too.
truth. It belongs to 7 billion people.
What is it?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you. So I'm gonna show you.
What are you gonna do?
Full disclosure to the whole world. All at once.
People keep wondering. Encountering the unknown. They're coming! They're coming! They are starved for the truth.
Do you think there could be others?
Why would he make such a vast universe? Yet save it only for us?
All right. So yeah, we have that there. So I'll go back a bit into like the trailer just to the parts, but I was first start kind of here.
If someone
Well, not here, but if you see normally, when you get like these type of like movies, or you get in just the zeitgeist of things, uh, the deer represents like alertness. It's if you ever seen a deer and you see that the hunters or whatever will like as soon as there's a noise, they're quick and they're alert and they're like on the object or the sound of whatever noise has been made, and they're very quick to respond because they're the flight mechanism of just like, all right, something happened and we're out. You know what I mean? There's a movie. What's the name of the movie? It's quite recent. The Obamas they made the I can't. My brain's not working to think of the movie. But it came out not too long ago on Netflix. Kind of got everyone to a stir where basically the world kind of just stood still, and basically like everything electronic shut down, and basically there was just a group of neighbors who didn't trust each other or not try to trust each other and stuff like that. Y'all know a movie I'm talking about. And then if you notice, there's deer in there, and the deer weren't in flight mode. They were actually not say attack mode, but their focus was on their focus was on like a presence. Um, and at the time, it was like a little girl and a mother at the time, and the deer were acting weird. So once again, you get livestock animals who are a bit more aware of the situation, and there's more symbolism when it comes to that aspect of that.
if someone showed you, proved it to
Unfortunately,
you,
it's because it's disclosure day. You're gonna get
would that frighten you?
a lot of like religious tones because that's always been in the story of why some things, if you believe or not believe, the government wouldn't allow things to happen or whatever like that is because there will be a panic. There will be religious beliefs will be different. A lot of things will change and chaos would happen. That's the normal rhetoric you get when it comes to these type of movies or even just what people may believe so or not.
Good morning, Kansas City. Let's take a look at today. Let's. Today is. Today's.
That's just super creepy with the sound. But those who do watch or keep up with when it comes to these type of alien UAPs, all this other stuff, there's a guy who well, the channeled version, his name is Bashard, and basically if you ever watched one of his videos, it's basically a guy who is super famous on YouTube. You've seen him on, or you've seen Joe Rogan talk about him, or different people in the zeitgeist of alien stuff talk about him, and people think he's lying or whatever he is, and all that. However you want to feel about that, you can feel about that. But there's something that he does before he channels the being to speak in his name, you know. And it sounds exactly like that. So either Spielberg is he's doing all his research, especially that this is more of a disclosure type thing. So he probably needs to make it a bit more home, probably, you know, looking at what everyone's looking at in this type of sphere of, you know, people looking up, you know, UAPs or looking up, you know, disclosure or whatever. So I'm sure he's trying to keep it as grounded as possible by looking up, you know, other people and what it would be like, you know. But when he does this, and you can check it on YouTube or whatever, when he does that, he sounds exactly like that. Like the clicking noise and the sounds and the deep, quick breath before he goes into everything, like it's like exactly like that. So yeah, I can see maybe Spielberg, you know, just doing his due diligence and okay, if I gotta make a disclosure thing, there's gonna be, you know, a lot of things that he would have to go into this world of people who, you know, look up or search or everything like that, that he would have to, you know, kind of do his research. And I think that part of it is one of them. Not saying he could have just not made it up, but there is an actual guy out here who, you know, says he channels um, beings, and that's exactly how it sounds when he does it.
People have a right to know the truth.
This here, I'm. It kind of like I don't know if you guys know or heard about the Miami Mall incident, and that, you know, that chalked it up to, you know, kids getting into fights, or there was a siren of like gunfire, and in this Miami Mall, there was hundreds of police cops that were there, and that's kind of the outlier of what people may believe that something else happened other than just kids getting in the fights, or, you know, possible using fireworks, which possible thought of, you know, firearms, because normally, okay, 10, 20 cops, I can even be like, okay, that's enough for this situation, but they brought hundreds, like literal hundreds of cops. So it's kind of a weird situation, and everybody, you know, believe it or not, or tall alien, tall beings. But in a situation like this, where everyone has their phone out, the and what gets me and why I think whatever they're seeing is either on TV or the entity, because the cameraman even has his phone out, you know. Like it's to the point where it's just like, oh, that like you would think that he would have his like actual camera, you know, as the you know the reporting here, or it could be somebody who just got on the top of the van and that is what it is. But I'm just looking at this point, there's a being there, or maybe it's being shown on TV. But at this point, I believe there's something right there. We can't see it obviously because the reflection's not necessarily showing, or is it? Because I just noticed something. Seeing something right here, and it's tall. So I literally just saw that. I literally just saw this. Only reason why is because this kind of highlighted that. So maybe in the reflection, yeah, I see something here. I could be totally wrong, guys, so don't get me on it. But I just noticed this right here. Like I said, I could be wrong. Maybe I do a little backup just to see if maybe that's just a weird reflection that I caught.
People have a right to know the truth.
Yeah,
It
it could be
belongs
just
to
somebody moving.
7
I don't know. It was weird.
billion people.
What is it?
Not to stop it again, but there's a movie that I saw. Oh, I'm terrible with trying to name these movies. I'll probably put it in the description afterwards once I find them. But there was a movie that I saw. It was about a kid who was really, really good at math, and he saw an object, or people said they saw an object in the airport, and then a few days later, everyone's like, "Nah, that didn't happen," or something like that didn't happen, and he saw it, and he knew he saw it, and he didn't let anyone tell him he didn't, and basically, you know, was so obsessed with the situation that he like coordinated the time of, you know, how far this thing was to where it was, and it was actually sending a message and a whole bunch of other stuff like that. I can't remember the name, but the only reason why I'm bringing that up is because it kind of reminds me of this guy here, who I think maybe he's something happened. Like I'm just me just guessing.
It
Something
belongs
happened
to
to him,
7 billion
and he
people.
knows, and he's
What is it?
as it seems,
You wouldn't
trying to
believe
tell
me if I
everybody.
told you. So I'm gonna show you.
And it reminds me literally of this other movie of this guy.
What are you gonna
Did that.
do?
Full disclosure to the whole world. All at once.
And this, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they want you to. This trailer might want you to think that, oh, these are the beings, because you see one, you see
All at
one
once.
here. Pupil turns green, and then I'll show you what I mean by this one. This one turns, yellow. Well, I have to see that. Obviously, it's
People keep wandering,
crop circles.
encountering the unknown.
This here is something that's interesting to me. Once again, I'm terrible with names. But it was a TV show. Was it the A? Is it the song? I can't remember his name. I'm terrible, guys. Sorry. Uh, there's a TV show that came on Netflix, and it was about it's about a woman who was trapped somewhere else, and she's trying to flee out, but or she got out and she's trying to find her friends, but she has to remote view her way to the thing. But only way for her to be able to do it is she had to recruit these kids to be able to like do these gestures and basically remote view to the place to save these people, or save her at the end. I can't remember. It's kind of vague, but I can't remember the name of it. But they had to do these hand gestures to. Looks really silly, but they had to do these weird hand gestures to kind of to get to a place where they can, remote view. And I, it's from that TV show. And if you ever, if you watch these type of videos or are you even into alien type stuff, remote viewing comes up a whole lot, especially when it comes to people channeling stuff or whatever. And as I've seen a few times, like I'm seeing
Encountering
some
the
of like
unknown.
this, like slow down time. He's standing still, she's standing still, and then he's walking around. He has a headset on, so like either he's remote, like he may be remote viewing this situation, uh, or time may just have stopped, and he's the only one at the moment that can move. But uh, in my assessment of this, one of the two are remote viewing. For that moment.
They are starved
And
for
it's
the
a-
truth.
Do you think there could be others?
Why would he make
That was
such
weird. This was
why
this was
would
weird
he
to me.
make
I don't know why. This is just the way the child hand came off, and at the end of the day, they're on a table, and if you ever read any abduction story or anything like that, it, all white, area, like a laboratory, and in my opinion, this is the person being introduced to their hybrid baby. It's a norm. I know it sounds weird, but it's a normal story that you would hear from anyone who's ever been taken or been abducted. When you hear the stories of those people who tell their stories, that's kind of the reference that they immediately go of like, why were you taken? And they either take sperm, take egg, something like that. They're building hybrids, however you want to say. And in my opinion, because his hand was quite weird the way it moved, it's kind of just was a weird shot. But I just noticed the two tables here, and so usually that's the being introduced to you know they probably taken the baby from this lady, and that's the baby. It's a normal situation type thing.
why would he make such a vast
And once again,
universe?
there's cardinals in here. And it's on the actual. It's on here, and then you see in the actual poster that the cardinal's there with the eye. I'm from Ohio. It's a state bird, I believe. I don't know the significance of the cardinal. That's something that's in the field has never come up. I'm sure in this situation it means something. Usually owls are um, the bird when it comes to this type of thing. So the cardinal, I have no idea. So excuse me on that. Like I'm sure there's a lot of people who may break that part down to a science. I'm down that one. I'm still confused on.
Yet save it only for us.
This is always representative of like you'll hear sometimes people, and this is just my opinion. Everything in here is just my opinion. It's just what I'm thinking of what they're talking about. Usually when you see someone walking towards a lit up house in these type of situations, especially alien movies, that is the ship in disguise. Um, and most people, when it comes to talking about their abductions, the the one thing that they all talk about, they talk about it being very peaceful uh, in that moment. You know, either before until they regress and then everything's wild. But they always talk about how peaceful it is. You know, the first meeting or the first seeing, like at first they're scared and all of a sudden either they're talking to them remotely or it's peaceful. And usually significance, you look at Disney movies, you look at anything, when animals are leading children into places, they're normally leading them to either heaven, either, a peaceful place. And in this case, you saw earlier in the girl in the bed, and the deer and the cardinal comes up. And in my opinion, that's just them showing themselves in a easier way than the actual, physical way they are, and it's the best way to lead the child to the ship. Basically, that's in my opinion what I'm seeing here. Usually, anytime you get the house lit up with all the lights like this, that's just it pretending to be that a house. So if it's a ship, obviously the girl will be like, "Wait a minute," but if it's a house, a little bit differently. And if it's shaped like her house or grandma's house or somebody's house she knows, then most likely, like I said, this is just my understanding of it. I could be dead wrong, but this is just me breaking down the trailer and that. Then we get back to the sound. So yeah, so that was just my little breakdown, a little intro to why I'm into these type of movies and stuff like that. Um, it's just what I'm into. It's kind of a weird shot. The doors in there. Yeah, and I could sit here and pick this apart all day, like in a sense of just like looking at shots and frames and all that, even as a movie myself. Is either even as a movie or not necessarily just for the context of the show. But no, that was it, guys. Hopefully you like this type of content. You want me to talk about more about my experiences dealing with stuff like this. Like I said, mans would get sleep paralysis all the time. I still do. They're not as crazy as they used to be when I was a kid, or maybe I'm just more used to it. Who knows? But it's been a pleasure. This stuff like this always intrigues me. I'm always like, this is just different from the part of life that we always maintain to do. But as again, everyone, please be safe. Hit that like button, share, make comments or whatever. Let's have a discussion if you guys want me to talk about it more. But as always, it's been a pleasure to let's discuss on things. By the way, my name is Tyson Lewis, and thank you guys very much. Peace.